getting some camera things set up here. Okay, I think we're good. Hi there. Dr. Tracy Dickens here for another Project 119, where I'm going through Psalms 119, 8 stanzas at a time. This is our 11th time to do this, which means we are halfway through. There's 22 8-line stanzas. So, woo, round of applause. So I'm so glad that you're here. If you haven't seen any of the other ones, go look at the other ones in underneath the live uh, list in my channel options. And as always, today, let me introduce the 8 stanzas we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about um, verses 81 through 88, the Kaf stanzas. So that means the first letter of each line is with the Hebrew letter Kaf. And later on, I'll tell you what that letter stands for. And as always, I have a lovely recipe for you because it's hot. I'm in Texas, in the US, and it is hot out here, y'all. I saw people walking outside earlier in the park at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, God be with you. It is already too hot. I just went out to water my plants on the patio, and I was like, I got sunlight. That's good for me today. It is hot, people. So if you're someplace where it's cooler, you are so lucky. I am envious. But because it's so hot, I am making something that does not require the stove or the oven. It's a really great treat that I just kind of came upon by myself. And I don't think it's really that special. You probably really don't even need a recipe, but I'm giving you one. And of course, I gave it a name. So we're going to be making Naomi using these lovely Partake graham crackers. And no, I'm not being sponsored. I just love these crackers. They're gluten free and they're really yummy. And we're going to just make them next level yummy with some little additions. But as always, before we get started, I want to pray us in and then we will start. So, dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us to another day. And thank you for the seasons. I know whatever season we are in, we usually grumble and complain, but I am so thankful that we have a summer so we can see all of the beautiful colors that you've created for us and that we can enjoy being outdoors and parks and, oh my goodness, lakes and pools and all those things. Just thank you for the memories we are able to create in each season and for the fruits that will be produced in this season. And I just ask that you open our eyes and our hearts so we can take in this word, so we can not only just take it in, receive it, but we can understand it and we can correct any misinformation we have about you and we can learn how to love others and you as you commanded. And this is not for ourselves, but for your glory and for the kingdom and for our restoration. I pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. So, like I said, we are making Naomi today. If you don't know who Naomi is, she is the mother in law of Ruth. And Ruth is a 4 chapter book, I believe, in the Old Testament. If you don't know where the Old Testament is, that's in the front part of the Bible that a lot of people skip over because they say we are in the New Testament. But can I just say, Jesus quotes the Old Testament all the time. I think like 70 or 80% of the things he says reference the Old Testament. So, just saying. Okay, so off my soapbox. Like I said, we are not going to be using the oven or the stove, but we are going to be using the microwave. Now, I understand some of you may not want to use the microwave, and that's fine. Then you will be using the stove. You might want to just get a small pot and a heat safe bowl and put it over the pot. Basically, you're making a double boiler, right? And you're heating up the water and you're going to melt chocolate chips. I am making these with the Enjoy white chocolate chips because if you're new here, I am going through a year of recovering from vestibular migraines and a vestibular disorder called 3PD. And so the recipes on this channel right now are migraine friendly until I know if there's a food sensitivity that is triggering my migraines. But honestly, I just think these are really good with the white chocolate chips. But you can use regular chocolate chips, whatever you have. I just really like them with the white chocolate chips. And that's what's in here, just white chocolate chips. I'm going to melt these in the microwave. How I do them and how I mention it in the recipe that's in the description below is I just put them on 30-second increments and stir them, put them in again until they're really soft and they just kind of melt. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do 30 seconds. And while this is doing its thing, I'll talk to you more about Naomi, what makes her so special. Oh, let me show you what these are going to look like. I made some last night, telling myself that I could show you what they look like, and then I ended up eating most of them. No judgment. Okay, see? So, I don't know if you can see that. It's just a cracker. I'm just going to cover it with some white chocolate, and I have 3 different seeds: sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and hemp seeds. And all of those seeds are just a powerhouse of nutrition. They all have antioxidants, they all help with inflammation. They Some have great minerals and vitamins that just helps um, your body function, heart health, brain health, immunity, you name it, those seeds probably cover it. Now, I am eating seeds because a lot of nuts can trigger migraines. And around here, we're trying to avoid triggering migraines. So you may want to use just pecans, or you may want to use walnuts, whatever you have on hand. You know me, I'm not fussy, right? Like, I want you to take the recipes I give you, but you can always tailor them. They don't have to be exactly like mine. I think that's what makes recipes so special, is that you keep in mind your family, your people, your likes, your dislikes, and you make them unique for you. And that's why they always taste a little bit different than how Aunt Sally did them or how Mama did them, right? Because you know who you're cooking for and you're considering them. And that's what that little splash of love is. So let's see. I bet these are probably melted. The thing with chocolate chips, you don't want to do too much, because then you can get to this tipping point um where they start to like separate, and then you can't get them all melty. See how they're nice and melted? Woo-hoo. Okay, so back to Naomi. Naomi is, like I said, the mother-in-law of Ruth, and Ruth was married to one of Naomi's sons. Obviously, she's the mother-in-law of Ruth. Naomi and her husband and 2 sons left uh, where they were living. Um, oops, putting this on me because I always make a mess. Always. I don't know how to not make messes. Um, so anyway, so they left their tribe when there was a famine in the land, and they went to Moab. And if you know anything about the Bible, Moab is nuts where the people of God should be hanging out. But there was a famine, and so they left. Now, while they were gone, the Naomi's husband and her sons got sick and died. And so she was left with the 2 daughter-in-laws. Whoops, sorry. She was left with the 2 daughter-in-laws, and she told one of them, Orpah, go back with your people. But Ruth was like, nope, I'm going with you. Your God is my God, so on and so forth. That famous line, where you go, I go. Your God is my God. Da da da. And so they returned to Ruth's homeland, and they returned to Naomi's homeland, and uh, and she tells Ruth basically, go in this field so we won't starve to death and glean from it. So long story short, Ruth is the great, great, great grandmother of Jesus. But David comes from the lineage of Ruth. She gets a man, Boaz. But I like the idea of Naomi because I feel like her story really fits with the verses that we're talking about today. Before they set back to return to Naomi's tribe, and during that trip, Naomi was very, very depressed, extremely depressed she was grieving the loss of her family, her sons. and the life that she had left her homeland for to make. And here she was without any of that. And what was she going to do? So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking the graham crackers. You can do this a lot of ways. I have pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and hemp seeds. So you can sprinkle these on top when you get the icing on them, or you can dip them. I've tried them a lot of different ways. So I usually do a little thing like this, get it all nice and coated. So, but why I thought Naomi was great for this lesson is because just like the psalmist in these verses, Naomi was really, really just depressed, feeling like all hope was lost. But yet, she still had knowledge of God. And you see that in the story of Ruth. Um, and, in, and, um, and you know that she must have had some kind of relationship with God as a mother in law because Ruth knew enough about Naomi's God to know that she wanted to go with Naomi and to have Naomi's God be her God. So that says something, right? That she had a relationship that left an impression on Ruth. So see, it's pretty simple. I talk about summertime greatness right here. Um, so that's why I thought this would just fit with what we're going to be talking about today. And it does get messy, so be prepared for that. I'm using the Partake graham crackers. One thing I like about these graham crackers is that they're gluten free and they are a woman of color. Jumping the gun. A woman of color uh, made, and I'm all about supporting businesses of diversity and that produce foods that are just good and healthy. And I think they're pretty yummy. You know, sometimes you can get gluten-free stuff and you're like, oh yeah, I can tell that's gluten-free. I mean, you can tell that it's gluten-free, but in a good way, not like in a, oh, I feel like I just put sand in my mouth. Thanks. Um, I think these are really good. And I think when you do this, it just makes them next level. In my humble opinion, you can give them a try and see what you think. Something else that might be cool too, if you wanted to use like chocolate chips, maybe mix in some peanut butter with your chocolate chips, and then you have something, you know, peanut butter and chocolate, and you put the nuts on top. People might want to move in with you, so maybe you don't want to share it with your friends if you don't want them to be moving in with you. Um, but I think you get the idea, and I think as we read, I'm going all over the place, ADHD brain. Uh, so I'm hoping as I go through the verses today that you will um, identify with Naomi in some ways and the psalmist and recognize how powerful um, knowing God's word is. And I am out of seeds over here. I didn't get enough. So what we're going to do, I'm going to clean my hands. I'm going to pull out some more seeds so we can get the rest of this done. In my other place, the sink was right next to the where I filmed, and it was so much easier. I'm always feel weird turning my back to you. It's like, oh yeah, but you know, here we are. Luckily, I have a camera that can follow me, which is really great. So you'll see the seeds that I buy. I think I get all these seeds from Amazon. So, and again, I'm not promoting anybody. Uh, this is just, and I actually know these seeds I just get from the grocery store. Pumpkin seeds or pepitas. Um, they have a lot of benefits to them. Highly recommend them. These are hemp seeds. I mean, antioxidants, omega fatty acids, the good stuff. The stuff that our body needs to heal muscles, have a brain that functions well, have a heart that functions well, have muscle repair, all the good stuff. Seeds are great. And here's the thing, if you do it like I'm doing, where you just kind of dump the seeds out and then dip it into this, if you have any seeds left over, you can just add some raisins or craisins or some dried fruit or something and just make a little trail mix. Because you don't want to put them back in the bag because you've been dipping stuff in them, right? Okay, let me get all this together. So I am curious about what your favorite, let me mix these all up. What your favorite summer snack is. Is it fruit? Is it ice cream? Is it, I don't know, hot dogs, barbecue? What is your favorite summer treat? I'm trying to think what my favorite summer treat is. I feel like in the summer I always eat a ton of berries. I love berries. And this year, the blackberries have been on point. I've been eating them like I'm getting paid to eat them, and I'm not. But wouldn't it be great if that was my job, just to sit around and eat berries all day? Um, okay, here we are. Got them all covered. Have some, a little bit, a residue of some of this white chocolate, and that's okay. Okay, there we are. All of them are covered. Whew, and messy. The messy is good, right? Messy makes it more fun, I think. Okay. You wash my hands again. It's white chocolate. But if I'm going for a non-healthy treat for the summer, I would say I love lemon bars and key lime pie. As far as like desserts go, um, I do like ice cream, but I have to be in the mood for ice cream. I'll get in the mood for ice cream and then I'll eat it like I'm getting paid to eat it. And then once I have it for a week or so, I'm like, okay, I'm good for the next few months. So now I'm going to put these in the refrigerator so they can set, because you know you have that hot white chocolate. And I think it sets better and it makes everything just kind of hold together a lot better. So you can see what these look like. We're going to stick them in the refrigerator. And now we can change our discussion to the, whoopsie, bump, bump, bump. There, my messy refrigerator. I just got groceries yesterday and I haven't prepped all my fruits and veggies for the week yet. Okay, I'm just gonna set this stuff over here to the side for right now so we can get into our talk. Just gonna move this out of the way. So, like I said, we can let those chill. And I showed you an example. These last night I sprinkled. Um, and I feel like whenever you dip them in the frosting, the toppings always stay on them a lot better because it actually like presses into the chocolate. You can sprinkle too, but you saw how I did it. Like I said, make it your own thing. You can get together with your kids and make it a whole messy affair. Let me take my glasses off here. Okay, switching gears. Let me get my glasses back on. Stick this over here, out of the way. Um, okay, so probably should have cleaned off my counter. I got some chocolate up here. That's okay though. Okay, so like I said, these 8 verses are from Koth. And Koth is the 11th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it represents a cupped hand or a palm. It is a symbol of a vessel or a readiness to receive, to a readiness to receive power, to bring a spiritual potential to reality, which I think one fits the story of Ruth so well. And as I read the verses which I'm about to do, if you're familiar with the book of Ruth, or gosh, for that matter, the book of Job, you might see like, oh yeah, I see how she could put Naomi with that story with these verses, or even Job, and definitely David. You know, a lot of people think that David wrote Psalm 119. Some people disagree. I haven't done a deep dive into figuring out like what evidence each side is using. I'll probably do that one day because I am curious. But let me read these verses for you. Okay. And this is from the NASB translation. My soul languages for your salvation. I wait for your word. My eyes fell with longing for your word while I say, when will you comfort me? Though I have become like a wineskin in the smoke, I do not forget your statutes. How many are the days of your servant? When will you execute judgment on those who persecute me? The arrogant have dug pits for me, people who are not in accord with your law. All your commandments are faithful. They have persecuted me with a lie. Help me. They almost destroyed me on earth. But as for me, I did not abandon your precepts. Revive me according to your faithfulness, so that I may keep your testimony of your mouth. Okay, those were the verses. And, as usual, I always like to look at how are these verses organized, because usually there's an organization. There's a there's a theme, there's a trend, and so I saw kind of these three areas in the psalm. The psalmist is speaking to what he needs, and he's identifying his concerns, and then he is showing endurance, like how he is enduring the persecution. And there's a great quote from Spurgeon. If you have been on here, you know that I absolutely love Spurgeon. He was a brilliant mind. And I think this quote captures the tone of this psalm. A humble eye lifted up to heaven in silent prayer can flash a flame hot enough to melt the bolts that block the entrance of vocal prayers, so heaven will be taken by storm by the artillery of tears. When I read this, I just heard the pain of the psalmist, using words like languishing and feeling faint and longing. These words just speak to someone who is desperate. They're in a season that is draining them of any kind of joy, a sense of life, sense of purpose. And I just saw, oh man, like that quote really captured. And the other thing that really stood out to me about this verse is that it also made me think of a sailor, because I always think of, those seasons that are difficult. I think of them as storms. And I thought of, a sailor that is traveling on the water and then suddenly a level 4, category 4, category 5 hurricane is building and they're trapped. They're caught up in this storm. And here's the thing about storms and how a lot of people survive them is that there was a lighthouse. And I remember when I lived in Oklahoma, there was this one park I loved to go to, Lake Hefner. Oh, I love that park. And one of the things I loved about the park was that, well, there was a lake there and I love water, but also it had a lighthouse. And I am fascinated by lighthouses. One, because they're by water and I love water, but also just what they represent. They represent, this beacon, this source of hope, this source of safety and refuge. Like the sailor who's caught at sea, who's looking for land, can see that light from far off and know, hey, up ahead, there is solid ground. There's safety. There's refuge. There is hope. I just need to move in that direction. And as much as the psalmist is talking about this desperation, this longing, there's also this persistence of I'm I'm clinging to your word. I'm turning to your word, which means that he spent time with the word in order to cling to it. He spent time with the word in order to long for it. He spent time with the word to understand the promise that's in the word and see it as a light. That if he just keeps focus on that and makes all the tasks that he's doing moving him in that direction, he will eventually get to shore. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how I saw this for the psalmist. So when we look at that first verse, when he is saying that he is languishing, he's, you know, I mean, just imagine that word languishing. I mean, that is, you are depleted, you are feeling faint, you are, at uh, you're at the point where like you need water, you need something to continue your life. And he's saying what keeps him going is the word of God, that he is, let me read the lyric to you. I wait for your word. Um, and he's languishing for God's salvation, that it's that he is in this place because of what he's received from God, and he will wait in this place because he knows the promises of God. So it's this dual purpose. And this also made me think about 2 Corinthians 4:8-9. We are inflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not despairing, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. So it's in that place, right, that I'm suffering because I'm under your salvation. I'm covered by your salvation. I'm saved in that and what comes with that. But I'm also aware of the promises that come with that. So even though I'm feeling all of these emotions, I know that I'm not destroyed. And then he moves on to, my eyes fill with longing for your word. That saying, I have spent so much time with your word that I know it. Like I've spent so much time that my eyes are exhausted. I I'm studying it. I'm looking for it. I'm seeking comfort from your word. And it's that focusing on the word that provides me comfort. While I say, when will you comfort me? Right? It's like, I'm reading this so much. I know your word so well. And I know that there's comfort in the word. And that's why I'm going to keep reading it, because I know it's there and I'm going to cling to this lighthouse. I'm going to focus on the lighthouse until I get there. I'm not going to move to the right or to the left. I'm going to focus on the lighthouse. And then to the next verse, 83. And if that just wasn't enough, right? You're in the storm and the boat's being tossed around. I just imagine like the waves and just the sounds and all these things. And then you have somebody on the boat with you that is taunting and teasing you, maybe bringing up, I told you we shouldn't have come here, or you don't know how to do this. How you're doing this, you're going to get us killed, and I should throw you overboard so we can, just it seems like whenever you're in a storm, just life is doing its thing. There's always the additional piece of someone coming along, giving their opinion, um, their pride, their arrogance about your situation. So where is your God? And sometimes it could be while you're in the storm, right? Like they've set this situation up and you're in the storm because of their sinful actions. And now they're taunting and teasing you about that. And even in that, um, the psalmist is still going, I'm so focused on you. And even when the psalmist is feeling like he is spiritually dry, which we see in verse 83, when he says, uh, when he refers to himself as wineskin and smoke. If we're not most of us aren't familiar with wineskin. like how would we be familiar with that in the year 2026? So in biblical times, the wineskin would be basically like a water bottle, but it was made out of skin, so it's made with leather. And if you know anything about leather, if leather gets dry, it cracks, it breaks, it's not useful. And so that's why you're having to put oils on it and keep it smooth and keep it out of smoke. Smoke can be drying. So imagine them sitting around the fire and the fire is producing heat, and it's got smoke going, and smoke and fire can dry out the leather. And then if that happens, that wineskin is no longer useful. And so the psalmist is very much so feeling like, I just feel spiritually dry. I don't even know if I'm useful. I don't know how you can use me. But I'm not going to forget your statutes. Even though I don't know how you can use me, even though I feel faint and depleted, even though these people are persecuting me, and I feel and think that I'm being beaten up by the waves, and I have no idea how I'm going to make it to that lighthouse up ahead, how I'm going to make it to you. I do know the fact that I can see the lighthouse, right? Like I still have your word that I'm going to stay connected to that. And so as we go on, the psalmist talks about how those that are persecuting him have dug a ditch for him to fall in. And again, we would not necessarily know what the psalmist is speaking to, but in again biblical times, if you were digging a pit if you were digging a pit, it was for the purposes of catching a wild animal. So it kind of makes sense, right? If you would dig a pitch, cover it up so as the animal came along, they'd fall in the ditch, fall in the pit, and then you caught them. And so the psalmist is very much so feeling like, not only do I have these people saying these things and taunting me and being arrogant, and I'm feeling like I'm of no use, and I'm being, thrashed around, and I'm feeling just like I'm depleted and I have no energy, and I'm clinging to your word through all of this. I feel like I'm being hunted, right? And so just having this set up, right? Like imagine like, being in that boat and the waves are smashing you around and you're like, okay, now, the beginning maybe it was just felt like it was a storm, but now it feels like the storm is out to get you, right? Like the storm is just beating your boat in a way that is otherworldly. Like this doesn't even seem like the normal storm. This seems like something like it's directing its energy at me. And it can very much so feel like that when people that are not of God are speaking to us and they're taunting us and they're saying things about our God and they're challenging our beliefs and they're threatening us for our beliefs. And it can feel very much so personal, like they're hunting us down, like they're trying to destroy us. But it's not about us, it's about God. I mean, we can just be Christians. We don't even have to say anything. And the Bible itself is offensive. The fact that we have a light, that we are living in a different way, is offensive to some people because just how we're living can suggest that somehow how they are is not right without us saying anything. And that's offensive. And sometimes people are gunning for us. They are trying to find ways to um, make us look a certain way. And even in that, the psalmist is very clear. He's looking to God to execute the judgment when he says in verse 84, when will you execute judgment on those who persecute me? Because he recognizes that God is the only one that can judge well, judge righteously, and dispense a discipline or redirection or correction that can stop this. He's the only one that can do it. We can't do it. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the knowledge or the know-how. It's all God, and he's trusting God to do that because the psalmist has seen God do that in the past and is trusting that he's going to do it. And then all your commandments are faithful. Um, they have persecuted me with a lie. So more things, right? Lying on him, and he's now screaming, "Help me!" Like it's getting worse. The storm is getting worse. The waves are larger. They're crashing. The boat I feel like is falling apart. I need your help, that plead. And then, and honestly, I forgot about this. The other verse I thought about when I was reading this, when I was reading this part about God judging them and giving them their just rewards for the arrogance, the pride, those that do not follow God's law. When I was thinking about those people, I was thinking, I wonder if the psalmist had this thought in mind. Jeremiah 18:22, may a cry be heard from their houses when you suddenly bring raiders upon them. Right? I just thought like, oh, you know, may may they experience um, the gravity of what they've done when God responds. So they know that God is real and he is just and he does respond. And he definitely is going to step in for his children. So then they get you, like I said, to 86. He's crying out to, the Lord, help me. They're lying on me. Not only are they hunting me down, not only are they, um, persecuting me and saying these things, being harmful to me in physical ways and in emotional ways, but now they're lying on me as well. And they almost destroyed me on earth. But as for me, I did not abandon your precepts. And I don't know about you, but when I heard that, and I guess I'm kind of giving you the answer to number two, but you can have a different answer to the question number two that I always ask, where do you see Jesus? I really think this is where for sure you see Jesus, right? I think this whole psalm is where you can see Jesus, quite frankly. You know, um, they tried to destroy him, but he came back 3 days later. Ha ha ha. And he stayed true to God's word. Um, and then we come to verse 88. Revive me according to your faithfulness so that I may keep the testimony of your mouth. What I love about this is that the psalmist recognizes that God's mercy and grace, who God is the driving force for saving the psalmist. It's not based on the heart, the goodness, the good deeds, the works, any of that. It is because God is faithful, because he's compassionate, because he is grace and mercy, and because he is just. Those things drive his action to save the psalmist. And I think a lot of times we can get caught up in thinking, I have to do more, I have to be more, I have to prove myself, or at least I can. I was raised in a way that I have to prove, um, I have to show my worth. And God isn't that way. He loves us because we're his creation and he has given us a purpose, which is to glorify him. And he's given us a calling, which is to disciple others. And and by discipling, I don't mean just telling them about God. I mean discipling them so they know Jesus, meaning not just know of him. Oh, yes, he was a rabbi, he was a prophet, he was a priest, he was, the son of God. Not know of him, but know him. It's a difference between, oh yeah, I've I know Taylor Swift. Yeah, I know about her. I read some articles about her versus, oh yeah, Taylor Swift and I, we grew up together. We hang out. I know that her favorite snack food at midnight is da 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 da, right? Very different. We're talking about that knowledge. And I don't know Taylor Swift, by the way, just to be clear, just using her as an example. But you get the idea, right? So we're talking about discipling people in a way where they know Jesus. And that is what's motivating God, not anything that we're doing. I mean, yeah, it's our heart posture that we want to be pleasing to Him, but not pleasing to Him to get Him to respond. We're pleasing to Him because He is holy and righteous, and we want to know Him. We want to be with Him. We want to abide with Him. Just being in His presence is amazing, and we want that, and that's a good thing. So, and when we have that kind of relationship, then His revival will be a testimony. We leave this season, we get off the boat, we make it to shore, and we're on solid ground, and we can lean up against the lighthouse. We can go inside the lighthouse. We are safe and protected. So I have a question for you. And it's one of the questions down below, because you know I always ask you 4 questions. What did you learn about God? Where do you see Jesus in these verses? And one of the questions I'm going to ask you now to get you to start to think about it. What lighthouse are you focusing on right now? Are you focusing on your circumstances? Are you focusing on your feelings? Or are you focusing on God? Because we see the psalmist has plenty of opportunities here to focus on how he's feeling, faint and depleted and languished, but he shifts his focus to God, how the people are treating him, his thoughts and his feelings about being persecuted and not having comfort, but seeking it, desperately wanting it, but his focus remains on God, on being upset about how he's being treated, but not seeking that revenge from his own hands, allowing God to be the avenger. He has the thoughts and feelings, but the focus always goes to God because he knows that he's more than those thoughts and feelings, that God is bigger than those thoughts and feelings. God is the lighthouse, God is the refuge, God is the solid ground and the safety. And focusing on him will allow you to endure the storm, regardless of how big the waves are. So, what are you focusing on right now? So, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully, that was helpful. Gives you some things to think about. As always, the description has the questions, it has the recipe down below. And as always, you can leave comments here. I do come back and look at any comments that might come up. And I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. And I hope you have a blessed week and the face of God turns towards you and gives you favor. And before you go, I want to show you these lovely treats that we made now that they've been chilled. So the toppings will stay on them a little bit better and give you a closer thing before we say goodbye. See, look at that. Pretty good, huh? Let me taste one. I got to make sure, right? Got to make sure it's good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely good. Bye. Take care. Choose joy.